So Mrs. Guerrero and I thought that today we would have like a little presentation on birds' nests because Jake and Mrs. Brosen had sent us pictures um, of a nest that they found in their backyard. Plus, I think Eli was also telling us about robin's eggs in his yard, and I can't remember if somebody else mentioned it, but I think we're all outside a little bit more, and I'm noticing chipmunks everywhere and squirrels, and I look and I watch what they do, and birds flying back and forth. And I actually have a bird right outside of my window, and she is stripping the bark off of the evergreen tree. And she takes a piece of the bark, she like tries to gnaw it off, and then she tears it in a long strip. It's the craziest thing ever. And then she flies away, and then she comes back. And then if you look at the bark, the trunk of the tree, it's like all it looks like it's a light beige or brown because she's taken all of the dark bark off. So with that being said, we're noticing things around us more. And if you love animals and if you love nature, this might be something that you're interested in. So here's the picture of the robin's nest that Jake and Mrs. Brosen sent us. And I'm looking at this going, wow, that's perfectly round. It's just amazing that a bird could actually make something like this. And look at how many pieces of grass and how many pieces of bark and how many pieces of like weeds and roots and everything are in there. Like, can you imagine how long it takes for a bird to actually make a nest? So it got us to thinking. So we found a little video of a bird in a nest. It's very, very short. Early in the season, American robin parents often build their nest low in an evergreen tree. Females build the nest from the inside out, pressing dead grass and twigs into a cup shape using the wrist of one wing. Other materials include paper, feathers, rootlets, or moss in addition to grass and twigs. So, nest building. Nest building and location and size of the nest. So we're still talking about the American robin. American robins pair bond during the breeding season. Females are primarily responsible for building the nest. That means mostly responsible for building the nest that is made of twigs, mud, and lined with dry grass. Sometimes the nest will have string or ribbon that the robins find in nearby areas. The robin nest may also have lichens and moss collected from trees. And remember, lichens was a spelling word like in the middle of the year. So the nest size and location. The bowl-shaped nests are built in a bush, tree, or under the eaves of buildings, 5 to 25 feet off the ground. The nest is 6 inches across and 4 to 6 inches high. The round inside of area of the nest is about 3.5 to 4 inches in diameter, which is large enough to hold a baseball. So, another funny story. I have that one bird building a nest, and she's building it in an evergreen tree. Remember, those are the coniferous trees that we talked about. The coniferous trees are the ones that have cones. So when we talk about them, we talk about like evergreens and Christmas trees. The deciduous trees, remember, are the ones that are like the maple and the oak. Those are the ones where the leaves fall and they're bare over the winter, and then the leaves grow back. So getting back to my little story, we have a patio, and we have a pavilion over it, like a structure, and there's a ledge on the inside because there's like a ceiling fan in there, and we had a bird's nest being built in there because I guess it was safe. And that makes sense because look, and that's about 7 feet high, 8 feet high, and they build in the eaves of buildings. So that's really kind of cool. Reusing nests. Sometimes the nests are reused. One nest was built on top of an old robin's nest that was constructed 3 years ago. So if you find an old bird nest, it's a good idea to leave it alone. One creative robin used parts of an old nest for building a sturdy nest under the eave of a house. The female sampled a few locations before deciding to build her nest in a hidden location that was well protected from wind and rain. Nest location is critical in a rainy area like Seattle. The nest includes lichens collected from a maple tree and small twigs from a hemlock tree located near the house. The nest building process took about 2 days to complete. Wow, that's crazy. All that work, 2 days. Good for them. So now this is what a robin's egg looks like. Robin eggs. The female typically lays 2 to 4 light blue eggs, about the size and weight of a quarter. So see what they did there? They used the quarter almost like a benchmark, like we've talked about in school with fractions, like half on a number line would be the benchmark to measure if it's greater than a half or less than a half. So the eggs are only about the same size as a quarter and about the same weight. The female incubates the eggs over a 2-week period. That kind of means like sits on them and takes care of them. And both parents care for the young. The eggs take around 2 weeks to hatch, and the chicks will fledge when they are about 12 to 14 days old. The female may produce 2 broods of young each year. The young are born with their eyes shut and first open their eyes around 5 days after hatching. Wow, so that's pretty interesting stuff. So now protecting the nest. And I've actually heard this happen, like, oh, it's really quiet outside in my backyard, and then all of a sudden I hear like squawking and squawking, and it sounds like the birds are actually yelling at each other. And then I realize it could be a squirrel in the tree, or it could be like a bigger bird coming over, and this must be what happens. So protecting the nest. Both parents aggressively defend the nest area. They emit a series of alarm calls that distracts predators. When the nestlings hear the alarm call, they duck down low in the nest and they remain silent so they go undetected by predators, including crows. When the female is sitting on the nest, she is silent and moves slowly since she doesn't want predators to find the nest. During feeding, the young make chirping sounds, but these calls can only be heard a short distance away. Watch out. Male robins are well known for dive bombing people and predators within 10 feet of a nest. The birds will swoop down close to your head to call loudly to draw your attention away from the nest site. So they're like causing a distraction to protect their babies. So keeping the nest clean. So if you're eating breakfast, finish your breakfast and come back to this because this is a little gross. Ready? Keeping the nest clean. The nestlings poop after every feeding. That's a lot of waste. But think about babies, right? But the nest is very clean. So where does all the waste go? Nestlings produce a fecal sac, a white bundle of poop, after each feeding. So if you look at the picture, you'll see it. After the nestling eats a worm, they lift up their rear and excrete the white sac, which is collected in the beak of the adult bird. Fecal sacs are like disposable diapers for birds. Sometimes the parent carries the fecal sac away in their beak and drops it as far away from the nest. Other times the adult swallows the fecal sac at the nest site. Yuck. I did not put yuck in there. That was already in there. But I was thinking it. Apparently, the parents may eat the sacs for extra nutrition. The sac is removed from the nest by the parents to keep the nest clean. This behavior helps to reduce exposure to pathogens and parasites or other odors that can lead to predators coming to the nest. And then once again, here are some photos of robins. You'll notice the first one, they have little worms in their mouth. Then the second one has a berry. And then the last one is just like hanging out on a tree limb. And remember, they said that they use the wrist of one leg to like kind of help them make a circle or a bowl-shaped nest. So these birds are so tiny, but they work really hard. So we hope you enjoyed this little lesson. And if this is something that interests you, continue to research it, continue to enjoy the information, and this might be something that you go into as a career as you get older if you really enjoy this. So have a great day, 4PG.